Today's topic is due diligence, which comes us to funding. The end of that conversation is often, well, how much will that cost? If you're doing due diligence, they should have already told you that. And if they haven't, well, then that's a yellow flag, and maybe you should be thinking twice about making the investment. But you get down to the part and they ask you for some money, and then you get to say, that's nice. You say you need $200,000 now. How much do you need to be break even? Cash flow break even is the jargon word. How much more money are you going to need after this round? After we're done with this money that you're asking for, how much more do you need before this is a profitable business? It's a good number to know. In the world of tech, that could be 2 or 3 or 4 more rounds of funding. They might want to be 30 times bigger before they're making a profit. And in the world of fledglings, they're often profitable already, but not profitable enough to pay you back. And so you really want to know, how long is it going to take, how much money is it going to take to get to, I like a $500,000 mark or a $300,000 mark or $1 million a year. How much money is it going to take you to be $1 million a year? All right, so they should be saying, here's how much money I'm raising, and here's what I'm going to do with it. Right? We call that use of funds. That's the jargon word. And it should just be a bulleted list. It should be 3, 4, 5 things in a list. If it's 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, which is what they're actually going to do, but they should just give you the highlights. It should just be 3, 4, 5 bullets on a list. Does everything on there look reasonable? Does everything on there look like it could be done in 12 to 15 months? And ask them questions about each one of those. They're also going to put up on there, I said before, they're going to set the terms. So you're going to look at that and you're going to say, does that look reasonable? Right? There are norms out there for what money is worth. That turns into the part of valuation. I'll teach that in some other week. Other terms on there will just be, this is a convertible note, it's a priced round, it's a safe, it's a revenue-based investment, it's a loan, right? We're looking for a grant. Like, what are the terms that they're asking for? And if it's a priced round of equity, then you get to go back and ask, okay, well, how many rounds of equity have you raised before? And what was the valuation back then? And the terms we use for the valuation is if the valuation's gone up, which it has for like 10 years, that would be an up round. A flat round would be the same price as last time, in which case that's a yellow flag. Why are you giving me the same deal you gave to that last investor 6 months or 9 months or a year ago? And a down round, that's where it gets really tricky. And I'm not going to go into that today, but a down round is where the valuation has gone down. And then lots of terms change and people get, quote, washed out, and it gets complicated. We're going to see a lot of down rounds in the next 2 years. I'll make a separate lecture on that. And then what else have they raised in the past? I love to ask this question is, all the money you've raised, all the money that's gone into this company, how much is that? Where did it come from? Who wrote those checks? Was that your money? Was that loans? Was it grants? Are there other investors that came before this? Did you list them all on that cap table? This is where you can double check the information they gave you. And what were the terms of those deals? So you want to make sure that your terms are pretty much in line with well, you want to make sure their terms aren't out of the norms, and you want to make sure that they didn't have any terms that you're not getting. That can happen sometimes. And then on the board seat, on the control side, right? Funding, when you make an investment, is part funding and part control. On the control side, are you going to expect a board seat? Are you writing a big enough check to ask for a board seat, or are you with a group or in a fund that's going to ask for a board seat? How many seats are there? Who's on the board already? What's the structure? Is there no board already? Have they ever met? Who picks the directors? When we get to things like Series A's, it usually is the group that is the Series A gets to put someone on the board. How often are the meetings? You can ask for all the minutes of all the boards of directors meetings. That's a totally reasonable question, and see what's happened on the board. Running down near the end here, we get to business status. So how's the company doing right now? How much money's in the bank? How much cash is sitting in the bank right now? Show me the bank statement. Usually, we'll talk about how deep you actually go in real life. I usually don't go to bank statements. I'll just ask how much money's in the bank. They'll give me a number and I'll believe it. How much money did you lose last month and the month before that and the month before that? Or if they're kind of break even, show me the last year's financials. Let me see how much money got used up in total, right? A really common term, again, that's used in the tech world is called runway. Runway is simply how long until this company is out of money, given the current burn rate and given the amount of money in the bank. So you just take the money in the bank divided by burn rate per month. That's how many months until you are out of money as a company. It is not uncommon when you go out and see local deals to find companies that are out of money in 3 months and they're raising money now. And this process generally takes a few months. So there's a good chance that they're out of money before they raise the money. And while that sounds crazy, it happens. And in fact, it happens on Wall Street as well. WeWork was out of money within 45 days of doing their IPO, filing their IPO. And they failed to do the IPO and they ran out of money. It happens, even for companies that sophisticated. Okay, does the company have any debt? And that includes any loans by the CEO or the early founders or anything. Are there any debts on the books? Are there any debts that were never written down, but they're still like verbal debts? If there's any debts, are all the payments made? Is this company paying on time? Were they supposed to pay and then the payments were deferred because something happened? Like, what's the debt look like? They have any accounts receivable? Is it been sitting there for a long time? When's it due? Is it normal or does it look dodgy? Do they have accounts payable? When's it due? Is it look dodgy? Are they just collecting the accounts payable in order to have money in the bank so it doesn't look like they're out of money now, but they actually are? Is the accounts payable, how's that compare to the cash in the bank? If it's much bigger than the cash at the bank, you may want to think twice about making the investment. And then just in terms of status, again, going back to my interviews, I like to ask, what are the last 3 things you've overcome? What are the 3 big hurdles in front of you? And if those 3 hurdles don't match the milestones that they put in front of you as a use of funds, well, there's some questions that pop up there.